Hi, Alice laughing because my hair is doing something truly bizarre right now. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. The camera is at an angle right now.
Here.
That's fine.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix it. It's been bad lately. Oh, great.
Our webcam doesn't like to stay in position.
Okay. That's moderately better.
That works.
So, that episode, huh?
Oh god. Here's the thing. It wasn't supposed to be 3 hours long. We apologize. But also, you're welcome, I guess.
Yeah. 3 hours and 16 minutes.
Also, we've said that we're not keeping to a really regular release schedule, but I do want to apologize. This one was not supposed to take as long as it did, but the wildfire smoke from Nova Scotia at the end of June hit us, and I was incapacitated for like a week.
Somebody in the chat said, how was editing 3 hours of content? How was it? The raw audio was 4.5 hours, right?
Yeah. I managed to get it cut down to just over 3.5, I think. Something close to that. Yeah,
and then doing all of the tweaking and the sound effects and the soundtracking for 3 hours of content. I know that I used Kay and Damien's theme musically 3 times in this episode.
It was thematically relevant.
Every time, and I swear I wasn't being lazy, just trying to get everything fucking soundtracked. But
God,
editing it was
well.
It was fun. I felt really good about the end result, but the end result was 3 hours and 16 minutes long.
So it goes.
Okay. So shall we start with the playlist? Okay.
Let's go.
Playlist. So the first track on there was the Stamets Viola Concerto in D major, which that just was the song that Ellie was playing in the flashback at the start. We were trying to find a song that lyrically worked for it, and finally I just kind of threw my hands up and said, fuck it, let's just put the Stamets Concerto in there. And Al was like, yeah, I'm tired, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
we tried to find the same version, but we ended up not being able to find it on Spotify, which is where we put together the episode playlists.
Yeah.
So we used a different version of
an orchestral version, rather than just a viola with an accompanist. So our first actual song on there was a Damien song, and it's Bottom is a Rock by Mother Mother. I'm noticing now we reused a fuck ton of songs from Campaign 1 for this one, because Bottom is a Rock was a Leo song in Campaign 1 for an episode playlist. Yep.
We reused a couple.
Yeah.
We reused a couple. I've had this on a couple of Damien playlists before. I just thought it was fun for the first Damien scene. Greeted by the day. Do I kiss it on the cheek, kick it in the teeth? Don't lie to me. Don't tell me that everything's easy. And also the hook of just, I go down to rise up, I get dirty just to clean myself off, I get dry to get drunk, I get pretty just to fuck my face up. Yeah, Damien was having his time at the start of this episode. Here's the fucking thing. A lot of how I'm doing Damien's mental state through at least this season is just wild swings from complete apathy to let's McFreakin' lose it. You know what I mean? Also, my hair is going full alfalfa right now. I'm not sure. I'm going to grow out my curls, I said. You need to start using a gel, man. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. But yeah, that I really did like that for that intro scene of everybody rocking back up to Mick's penthouse and Mickey yelling at all of them and Damien being like, fuck you, I'm gonna go take a shower. I thought it was a good scene setter for most of the episode. Yeah. Also. Second song, this is a mutual
Ellie and Kay song, and it is another recycle from Campaign 1. I believe it was a Sabine song.
I think it was just Bottomless of Rock and How to Return Home.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly. I think those are the only ones we ever used.
I think we had Come Here, Get Away From Me, but I think it was on something that wasn't an episode playlist. But How to Return Home by Natalie Weiss, which was from the Our First Mistake album, which was a lot of like people that are involved in musical theater just writing hypothetical musical theater numbers.
This was not from an episode, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, for the Magnificent Mansion.
Yeah. We also put it on. Sign up for the Patreon. You'll get exclusive playlists. We put this on an exclusive playlist that was Sabine, but it's all musical theater.
Yeah. But yeah, in the mutual Ellie and Kay sense, you're barefoot sliding on the old wooden floorboards, home just as you left it, but still you're shaken, like walking into a museum somehow out of time. It's all the same except the girl in the hallway where she's been and who she will ripen into. Your childhood's on the other side of a sprawling divide, too wide. Take a silent breath, hold in the change, tell yourself you still live here. Take your bags upstairs. It's the only way you'll get through today. Count the hours, take a shower, wash yourself away. And the end of the song is just, and how to survive. There's no written guidelines, how to go back, how to show up and unpack, how to show up, how to grow up, how to take a breath. Yeah, it's a whole new game of how to return home. It was a mutual kind of thing. I'm sorry about the sounds of our dog digging on the couch. Hey, Woody. Bruh.
Sir?
Please.
He's so loud and for what?
Yeah, it was just a mutual kind of thing between Kay and Ellis about coming back to a house and not feeling like you belong there for like two very separate reasons. But I felt like it really worked. So
Kay and Ellie have a lot in common, and that's not a good thing.
No, it's really not.
Kay and Ellie have a lot in common. Derogatory.
Oh, a friend decided I had the spoons to join, so came by again. Hello.
Hello. We love it when people show up to the Q&A live.
Okay, next song on the playlist was a mutual Damien and Dahlia song.
Yes.
And it's Come Here, Get Away From Me by Ezra Furman. I remember we went round and round about what to do with this one forever. And finally, this was one of our first polls and we settled back on it at the end.
I was thinking of it more as a Dahlia song, but it is a mutual one. It's just a good song. It's from Ezra Furman's Transangelic Exodus album, which you should listen to, by the way. It had really good road trip vibes. Because, well, what do I even quote for that?
The motorcycle thing.
Yes. Yeah, because verse 3 of the song is, have you ever stayed up all night in a backseat parked in a field in Arkansas while a man on a motorcycle circles around real slow? And you shiver and it's cold and the sun comes up and your friend wakes up and you tell him about the man. Was he ever really there and you don't even know? Yeah.
You say you want to get to know me. You say you want to make contact. Well, talk to me, baby. Come here, get away from me. Talk to me, baby. Come here, get away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Damien and Dahlia's friendship at this point is like so much like push and pull of like how much they are willing to give of themselves and wanting to take of anybody else. Like it's we've said before, Team Damien, all of them, they are fucking lying all the time. Everybody on Team Damien is lying to everybody else all the time, and it makes for a hell of an interpersonal
Every
dynamic.
single one is full of shit.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, what else do? What else?
The chorus?
Yeah, the chorus. And the chorus is all my life I'm jumping rock to rock. I'll see you in your dreams. All my life I've built this fortress on the edge of your town. Come here and get away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to the album. It's really good. It's one of my favorite albums.
And the next song is Come Over by Noah Kahn.
This is the first song we put on this episode playlist. Yeah.
I am going to do unholy things to all of you with Noah Kahn's album Stick Season, specifically the extended version.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt you.
Barry has plans.
And I need you to understand that. This is just the first taste.
Oh goodness.
It's a love letter written from a haunted house, which I felt was super appropriate. I'm in the business of losing your interest, and I turn a profit each time that we speak. Don't you know there's a
K
coffin?
song.
It's a K song, yeah.
That wasn't clear.
Don't you know there's a coffin buried under the garden? It was there when we got here. We'll be there when we leave. And my house was designed to kind of look like it's crying. The eyes are the windows. The garage is the mouth. So when they mention the sad kid in a sad house on Balch Street, you won't have to guess who they're speaking about. Yeah, and then
quote verse 2?
The second verse, yeah, I'm in the process of clearing out cobwebs. I was taking the wrong meds. Feels good to be sad. And my house is just barely big enough for my family, but it feels like a fortress when the weather gets bad. And my mouth was designed for my foot to fit in it. Oh, the words they went missing when the stock market crashed. And the Dow Jones keeps falling, but I promise you, darling, with the view in the morning, you won't ever go back. Like, it's a love letter from the haunted house and to the haunted house as well, because like through that whole scene with the barbecue, you know, Kay was texting Lola and like feeling like that was grounding them. And there was kind of the pining there, but also I feel like Kaylin O'Connell is in an abusive love affair with their own haunted house. It's a letter to and from a haunted house is all that I can say. That and just the line in the bridge of someday I'm gonna be somebody people want. That struck me as like really illustrative of that moment where she was sitting there. She had texted Lola. Lola was already asleep, wasn't texting back. Everybody around her was asleep, and she was kind of like crushed under that weight of like, oh, I'm not really a person anymore, am I? And I care about so many people, and their lives are going on, and mine isn't.
We really wanted to kind of hammer home we'll talk about this more in a minute, but we really wanted to hammer home the theme in this episode of like everybody's lives are going on around Kay. You know what I mean? Somebody in relation to Barry saying that he's going to hurt you said that's okay. Compelled fans are all queer and at least a little masochistic.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh goodness.
But yeah, there are worse songs off of Stick Season coming for all of you, because I have spiraled headfirst into Noah Khan hell these last couple months, and it's good music.
Yeah. And then we have 2 more songs on the playlist. We wanted this one to only be 6 tracks, but it ended up not fitting. Because we've been doing 6 tracks. We've been doing 6 tracks. We did 6 tracks for the last interlude, and I wanted to kind of keep that. But
yeah, we added 7.
They're gonna be as long as they are.
Yeah, we added it. It ended up being 7 because we wanted to have something for the intro segment. Yes. So,
the next song is another Damien song, and it's "People 2: The Reckoning" by AJJ, and it's my favorite AJJ song, for the record. Just, I was thinking of it as a song for like the hike through the desert. You know what I mean? Yeah, just it's a good song. What do I even quote from it? You know, how is the world so small when the world is so large? And what made the world? Could I please speak to who's in charge? And then I've tried to know which words to sing so many times, and I've tried to know which chords to play, and I've tried to make it rhyme, and I've tried to find the key that all good songs are in, and I've tried to find the notes to make that great resounding din, but there's a bad man in everyone, no matter who we are. Yeah. Bad men and everyone, no matter who we are. There's a rapist and a Nazi living in our tiny hearts. Child pornographers and cannibals and politicians too. There's someone in your head waiting to fucking strangle you. Yeah. It's my favorite AJJ song. It took me so much effort not to just sing that part.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
That AJJ album is just Damien Core.
Yeah. Favorite AJJ album. There's a lot of we've been writing the O'Connells for so long that there is a lot of both of us in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the closer on the playlist is a K song, and it's Angry by Parvy.
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts about Kay as a character, and specifically, you know, undertaking kind of this I feel duty to my trans femme sisters to like faithfully portray a trans femme person and bring up a lot of the issues that they face out in the world and in society where any instance of like anger or rage is interpreted as like antagonistic and bad, and trans women can never be angry. And yeah, and one of my taglines for Kay as a character in our pitch meeting is regularly I will say, "Where is your fucking rage?"
Where is your fucking rage? I think a lot of the time we are trying to portray righteous anger on our show because, like, there is a lot to be righteously angry about as a queer person in the world.
And it's not bad. And
yeah.
It's not bad to be angry. And, like, as queer people in the world today, we have everybody telling us every time we get mad that it's unpalatable and unacceptable. And no, like, Kay was allowed to be mad there at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, the parts of the song I want to quote.
Yes.
The chorus mostly. Why is everybody not angry, crying out, throwing empty bottles at walls? Why is everybody so happy in the sun like nothing ever happened at all? Oh, because my world just fell apart, but to anyone else, I'm just another broken heart. Why is everybody not angry? Close all the blinds, shut off the noise, turn down the music. I had it all, but sometimes the ending you don't get to choose. And didn't you hear in the papers? Thought I saw the future, but I was mistaken. Close all the blinds, shut off the noise. Oh, I'm so confused right now. Like it was very much that moment of realizing, well, not even realizing that Damien was alive because she knew, but having to parse out that.
Being vindicated.
Yeah, being vindicated and like that vindicated anger of like, okay, are y'all ready to fucking listen to me now? Yeah.
We have somebody in the chat saying the Berry's doing a really good job portraying, quote, our zombie Blorbo. So true.
Thanks.
Zombie Blorbo is such a phrase. I love Kaylin. I love that she's there.
Same person in the chat. Different person.
Different person in the chat said, faithful believer in the fact Kaylin O'Connell should also bludgeon someone with a metal chair at some point.
Give him the chair.
She would be right. You know what? I believe her. She's allowed to do whatever she
wants. So on to our questions. So our first one, can you talk about the beginning flashback? As is customary, this is a regular question asker.
Yes.
But also specifically today, what even is Quiz Bowl?
Explain for, because we do have some listeners that did not go to American Public High School. Quiz Bowl. Quiz Bowl is an
extracurricular.
It's an extracurricular activity. It is an activity that many school children, especially in my district, it was like middle school on up.
I went to Quiz Bowl Nationals in high school.
There you go.
So, okay. I want you to imagine a room. There are two teams on either side of the room at tables, 5 people each. Each of these people at these tables have a buzzer. You structure your team in a way that is as intellectually holistic as you can. Like you have one person that knows a lot about pop culture. You have one person that knows a lot about history. You have one person that knows a lot about math and or science. You have one person that can kind of flex between these subjects, and you have one person that is just a font of useless trivia and just absorbs everything. I was the useless trivia person.
Autism.png.
And at the head of these two tables, you have like a moderator or a referee who will ask a question, and whatever team buzzes in first and answers the question correctly gets points.
Quiz Bowl is the sport for the kids that were not able to do contact sports and were really good at being know-it-alls.
It's like if Jeopardy were the Hunger Games. I saw physical altercations happen at Quiz Bowl matches, okay? I was involved in a couple of them.
Somebody in the chat said, so I don't know much about ghosts, but just imagining like Kay lining the bathroom with anti-ghost stuff to contain the ghost in there being like, no, you're grounded.
But the opening sequence, yeah, that was, we wanted to do it to highlight kind of what Kay and Damien and Ellie's dynamic was like when they were all much younger.
Yes. It's about the parent or the parentification of Kay. It's about we wanted to kind of lampshade the fact that Ellie has a different mom than Kay and Damien do, because that's who Monica is.
That's who Monica is. That's Ellie's mom.
That's Ellie's mom.
Yeah.
She sucks. We don't like her. But yeah, we wanted to highlight that and kind of sprinkle it in. That's why we didn't do this as the opening cutscene earlier, because we had this written for like months. This was originally our idea for the opening cutscene in the first interlude, I think.
Yeah, but then Ellie ended up being not as big of a part of that as we wanted.
Yeah, and we were like, okay, we want to save this until Ellie actually comes in person. Also, I've been thinking about the line, the Sam's Cola of women, for
the nighttime cold and flu relief of potential stepmothers.
For so many months, I have been thinking about the Sam's Cola of women. It's delicious lines to me. But yeah, we wanted to very much kind of highlight the dynamics. We wanted to how do I say the thing that I'm thinking? That's a good question. Yeah, it was, for me at least, we were very much trying to, and will continue to try to, kind of draw a line between, especially Kay and Ellie's dynamic when they were kids and their dynamic now, and like make it very clear the effect that like grief and growing apart has kind of had on that dynamic, if that makes sense.
Well, and also there is the fact that like symptoms of Kay's mental illness were not as present when they were younger.
Yeah,
I mean, because I feel like Ellie feels herself cast very much into. Well, we have a question about Kay and Ellie's dynamic coming up. We'll dig into that then.
We'll dig into it then. We're talking about the opening,
but yeah, there was a lot going on there. We've had it written for months. We were really happy with how it panned out. I also love just like Kay and their dad arguing and Damien just slurping an icy in the background, minding his own business. That's very telling.
Thriving in his lane, skin clear. L plus ratio plus ignoring you plus playing.
Okay, next question. I know she does support, but do we know who Kay mains in League? Also, does she play any other games? It's time for me to make a harrowing confession. I have never played League of Legends. Ever. I made that joke because it seemed like it fit Kay. So earlier today, I got on Google and I researched most popular League of Legends support mains. And I went down and I chose the picture of the character that it seemed like Kay would like to play. And that character is Soraka. Probably.
If anybody who actually knows League of Legends is asking for like character research reasons,
no, I went pure aesthetics. I tried to read like the stats and everything, and I'm like, I've never played this game. I have no fucking idea what's going on here. That one looks like the one that Kay would like to play.
Yeah. I'm saying this as someone who has written fic. Like, I would definitely ask that kind of question as a character research thing for doing little headcanons, doing my silly little tasks. Make your own judgment call if you know more about League of Legends than this fucking guy.
Okay. Similar but different question. Who would she romance in Baldur's Gate 3? Shadowheart. Off the dome. So I can call that. I can call that shit. I also haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, but I've osmosised a lot of it from the internet. Shadowheart.
Oh, that was so fast.
I've been mourning the fact that we don't have space on our PC for me to download Baldur's Gate 3, and I don't have the money to buy a PS5. So I've just been watching a lot of Let's Plays on TikTok and YouTube. It's kind of a problem.
God. As for what other games she would play, you've made jokes about her playing Zelda a few times.
Yeah, Zelda.
Yeah.
I think
Final Fantasy 14.
Final Fantasy 14. I think she still has her 2006 RuneScape account up and running. I have to go to the bathroom super quick. You can riff on this. Like,
Okay.
I will be so fast. Okay.
Okay. We also mentioned specifically that she had World of Warcraft on her computer, I believe.
Unfortunately, 2018, we're holding up a newspaper.
2018. We are holding up a newspaper that says the date of this podcast is late April 2018. Blizzard sexual harassment fail is not widely known. Oh goodness. Oh jeez. I'm saying Final Fantasy 14 as someone who has not played Final Fantasy 14, but my partner is like really into it. Somebody in the chat said, right, I sometimes forget that it isn't modern. We are sometimes being very careful to fact check things. Every time we like add an element of something in, we're like, does this work? If it's 2018, does it? That is a significant part of our episode plans, is we're like, oh well, that didn't exist until 2019, maybe. I had to, no spoilers, I had to break the news to Barry that a certain subculture on the internet that we all find very distasteful did exist in 2018 and was growing in popularity, unfortunately. But we'll get to it when we talk about this next arc coming up. Just let it be known, it is a certain subset of people on the internet that are into a hobby that is bad. And I don't mean cringy, I mean ethically bad. Anyway. But I did have to break the news to Barry that people that I went to high school with were in fact engaged in that particular subculture.
Groans. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Please riff about Ellie and Kay for however long. They devastate me. Coming off of that, what can you share about their dynamic that you wanted to share but couldn't fit in this episode? Ugh, Ellie and Kay.
Somebody in the chat said, is it true crime? It must be true crime.
No.
No comment. We're not going to tell you what it is. You said no, it's not true crime. It's worse. It's worse.
But yeah, so yeah. Ellie and Kay's dynamic.
Yes. That's complicated because some things that we didn't get to in this episode, we are going to be talking about later, I think. But like,
I think we've lampshaded the fact that Ellie had a better relationship with their dad than Kay or Damien did. Like, Kay and Damien both had a very, very, very complicated relationship with their dad, and there were parts of that complicated relationship that were really nasty. Yeah. And Ellie never had the nastiness turned on her. Yeah. And that colored her perception of the whole experience in a very big way.
And I think colored their dynamic as kids in a very big way, honestly.
Well, yeah, because I feel like Kay and Damien treated her like shit when they were kids. Like, let's not get it twisted. Yeah. Because it was like, oh, here's this person that acts with absolute fucking impunity in our house, and we get shit on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think there was a lot of love in that dynamic as kids, but kids are mean.
Yeah.
Kids are mean, especially when they feel like they've been wronged, which in a very real way, Kate and Damien were being wronged very frequently, but not by Ellie. And a lot of that rage is very easily misdirected, especially
when you're a kid. Yeah, especially when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they grew up, I mean, Ellie was, 15 when Damien disappeared?
Yes.
And
Ellie is a year and 4 months younger than Damien is.
Yeah, and it's pretty heavily implied that when Damien disappeared, Kay's mental health took kind of a absolute free fall downward spiral. because there was that line about her talking about like I was 15 and my brother disappeared and I needed my big sister, and then her saying like you were too checked out to listen to.
And like we've talked about, we had a beginning scene a couple episodes ago that like established that their dad died not super long before Damien disappeared, and like Ellie has lampshaded the fact that her relationship with her mother is bad. It's bad. So like in a very real way, like this horrible thing happened.
Several horrible things happened, really. Well,
specifically Damien disappearing, this horrible thing happened to both of them, and like Ellie was a child and needed support in a very real way, and Kay was not capable of offering that support, and
her mom was a piece of shit and her dad was dead. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and it leads to kind of this like weird like reverse parentification thing where like Kay was actually the person that was doing a lot of the parenting for their siblings for like a huge portion of their life. And now I feel like Ellie feels this like strange responsibility to like pay back the favor because apparently Kay is like not functional enough to Ellie has some bad opinions.
Don't get it twisted. Ellis O'Connell is being very ableist to her sister. That is intentional. You are not meant to think she is right.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. She's being horrifically ableist to her sister.
She is, and we are just asking you to grant her a little bit of grace because she's a kid and she's scared.
Yeah, like, it's complicated. I was trying to portray it as a very complicated thing. Somebody in the chat said, these three ruined my life. What if all you had was each other in the worst way possible?
Literally.
We've joked about Kay and Damien's dynamic being codependency, the musical, and like Ellie being on the outside of that, I think, is something that was extremely difficult for her as a child and only got more difficult after, as far as she knew, Damien died.
Yeah.
It's
because it's like, oh, the last person you have left in the world, literally, you know you're not their favorite.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they love you, but yeah.
It's very much that feeling of this is the person I am looking to for support after a loss, and they wish that I was gone instead, and I know that without having to check.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very difficult. Somebody in the chat said, I love Ellis, loving her and also knowing and being critical of her ableism and hoping she grows her ideas that can and should cohabitate in the Ellie fans. Exactly.
So true.
Exactly, yeah.
We also love Ellis.
Yeah. I love Ellie. She has a lot of personal growth that she needs to handle.
But yeah, Kay and Ellie's dynamic now in this space, especially now after that knockdown, drag out, screaming match at the end of the last episode,
we were really proud of that scene. I think that was some of the better acting.
That was the hardest acting we've ever done. Yeah, Al actually hurt their throat during that screaming match. I hurt my throat a little bit. Yeah, but we were.
Well, you're all listening to me on live stream. Like, we have to turn my volume up in the episodes because I talk so much quieter than Barry does. We did not have to turn my volume up during the screaming match. I was just yelling.
We were like actually both like screaming and crying at each other during that. It was really intense. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like after that, especially after I think that's going to be a big like unpacking moment for Ellie too, of like realizing like, oh, this shit that I've told my sister that she's crazy for like literal years now is actually true.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I need to reevaluate how I handle my perception on things.
And I tried to make the degree of ableism that she is wrestling with makes sense in terms of her character motivations. Like,
she's scared for Kay.
Yeah,
like,
it's
not out of just being dismissive out of hand.
Yeah.
And I don't think it comes across that way. Like, she's being dismissive because she's trying to check Kay in a way that is not the best way to check someone.
Don't reality check people who experience psychosis without asking them first. You have to have pre-established consent for that. PSA: the more you know. Don't do that. Yeah, it is very much like, it is out of worry, and like I tried to like lampshade the fact that like a lot of it comes from the fact that it did make Kay incapable of supporting her at a time when she really needed the support, and like a lot of it's from like she lampshaded the fact that like she fully believed up until the end of this episode that Damien fucking killed himself when he was 16.
Yep.
And like,
and what does that do to a 15-year-old where like you have that ironclad belief, and you have this other person who is like clearly in mental crisis, who is consistently, insistently being like, no, he's alive, like he's out there.
Yeah, like I
denying you closure, like kind of is what I feel like.
That, and also I think she was worried that Kay was going to do something self-destructive. I think that has been a worry in the back of her brain for like the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said she's ableist and a very scared, doesn't understand, but is concerned about her sister and trying to help, but doesn't know what she's doing kind of way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like she is trying to help, and her help is not helpful. Because fundamentally, and this is a very common kind of ableism, especially towards people that experience psychosis, like fundamentally she thinks that she needs to fix the fact that Kay is experiencing psychosis, and like that is a really unproductive way to think about it,
because it's gonna happen no matter what.
Like it's a very common pedestrian form of ableism that I think she just needs to unpack on her own time and not force her sister to deal with.
Well, yeah, and especially with the way that like symptoms of schizophrenia often manifest, like it's genetic, number one. And number two, the onset usually happens in late teens to early 20s. Like the onset of the more severe symptoms typically happens in the late teens to early 20s. So like all of this traumatic shit just went down in a domino line, and then Kay started experiencing psychosis like in tangent with it, and Ellie was literally the only person around to deal with that.
Yeah, and I think it's I think even apart from all of that, like a lot of the dynamic is kind of built upon the fact that like, well, you said it, Ellie wants to kind of repay the favor of Kay taking care of her as a kid, and she doesn't know how, and she's a little resentful of the fact that she has to do it. I think, and like dealing with all of that on top of the fact that she's being denied closure on this horrible thing that she dealt with as a 15-year-old by the one person who is in a position to understand where she's coming from. Like, I think mutually they both feel very misunderstood and very resentful of...
I think that's... You're hitting the nail on the head. I think the mutual thing there is that it's like, fundamentally, this person does not understand me at all. And the horrible irony is like, actually... They both, I think, feel very misunderstood and very resentful. And like, fundamentally, there is an issue of miscommunication, and there is an issue of them both being very stubborn and bad with their feelings. You know, they're very similar, and it's not good. And it's bad.
But
you know what this situation could use? A middle child.
Unfortunately, he's up in the high desert right now. He's a little busy. Oh, goodness.
But yeah, Kay and Ellie, head in my hands.
We'll be doing a lot more in-depth discussion of a lot of the things that go into their dynamic later. But we'll be getting it more in depth with it later. But like, I think that's the crux of it is the miscommunication and the resentment and the lack of emotional intelligence. Somebody in the chat said I was hit with the autism hard. Them too. Them too, Bessie.
Anything about Haunted Laundromat Did Bev just forget to warn the already previously established mentally ill Kay about the bleeding shirts? I don't
Be
think...
very careful.
I don't think Bev forgot.
Yep.
I think Bev assumed that it wouldn't be a problem. Thank you, Woody.
My dog is very angry.
I think Bev assumed that it wouldn't be a problem until later, and then it became a problem.
So the chat, just exclamation points, puppy. Yeah, he's lounging.
And barking at dogs outside.
Yeah. The other dogs are being loud, and he has to be loud back.
Yeah, it's not that Bev just forgot, because Bev doesn't forget things.
Shall I hold up the boy for chat?
Oh yes, dog tax.
Dog tax. Him. Hello, little boy. Say hi. Okay.
He's like, put me down immediately.
Oh, unhand Woody. Hello. Hello. The chat goes wild. Dog tax.
But yeah, Bev doesn't forget things. Bev strategizes in a way that doesn't always pan out well, and didn't think that it would be time to have the "hey, sometimes the sink bleeds" talk with Kay for a little bit longer, but then it just happened.
We can't say too much about the Haunted Laundromat for reasons, because the Haunted Laundromat, I feel we can say this. It's tied into the main plot line of the campaign, in a way, and going too deep into it would spoil things
A whole lot, yeah.
that are happening way later.
Yeah.
You will have more answers on the Haunted Laundromat by the end of this season. Not all of them, but more. Yeah.
But yes,
Bev's playing her own game. Bev's playing 4D chess. Everybody else is on a checkerboard.
Literally, Bev knows about the sinks bleeding. Like, she knew, she just didn't think she would have to tell Kay about it for a while.
Yeah.
What repercussions is Michael facing from Team Damien's shenanigans last episode? Poor guy seemed so stressed. Well.
Michael's okay.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get into like a lot of depth about what's happening back in Vegas with Mick.
Just because Mick can hold his own.
Mick can hold his own. He's very old. He's very experienced. He said it. He's been through more than one interrogation in his life. Perhaps some advanced ones, as the U.S. government would put it. You know,
he became a vampire during the Spanish Inquisition.
But and he is going up against some people that would very much like some information from him, but he also has a lot of connections. So whether Mick is... The level of bad time that Mick is having is extremely variable, and I don't think we're going to fully unpack it.
Because I really don't think he's going to have a bad enough time for us to unpack it. Like...
We will see him in a few episodes.
Like if Mick gets into a situation where he feels like, oh, this is bad, he could just bug out. Like he's got the resources to just bug out. Like,
somebody in the chat said, I adore the mental image of just whatever spiritual leader it was whom it came to and be like, hey, so I'm a vampire. How can I do this?
We've actually talked about this in pitch meetings.
Yeah.
about there being a very tired old rabbi in Las Vegas.
God. Nick just like, okay, so I mean, I'll eat blood if I have to survive because that is permitted. But how am I gonna handle this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? Yeah, I think the road to Mick getting where he is now was very long and winding. He's been alive for 500 years. Oh, goodness. But yeah, all I'm going to say is I think he has enough influence to keep himself out of too much trouble, but not enough to have stopped the Fey Courts from going after Damien and Dahlia and Luke.
Yeah,
you know,
because that was who he was concerned about. Like you'll notice he never actually like really displayed any like concern for himself.
Yeah, like he says pretty explicitly that he can hold his own.
Yeah.
It's.
I feel like a lot of what comes down to Mick's motivations is like he has this fundamental fear that he can't protect the people that he cares about.
Yeah.
He's been around long enough that he can protect himself.
Yes.
But when you bring his like kids into the equation, like that's where he starts getting scared.
Yeah, I think because we established pretty early that like that was a lot of the pretext for Team Damien staying with Nick during the last arc, was that like he has enough influence that nothing is going to come into his house because that's his turf. But like I think the big consequence of this past arc and all of these events for Mick is losing some of that influence and losing some of that ability to protect himself in the future, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I think he has gotten this far by being very personable and very well connected and like forging himself a safety net.
Well, yeah, because like we've established that like vampires are one of the things that was in the world before the whole like Veil collapse of 2012 and everything. So like, of course, Mick is going to approach this new weird shit that is now in the world and be like, hey, I'm the old weird shit in the world. We should team up.
Like, I think fundamentally Mick is trying and has been trying to keep himself above water and keep the people that are close to him above water in this brave new world. Mm-hmm. And I think
he lost a lot of that when the solstice burned down.
Yeah, I think he lost a lot of the ability to do that when the solstice burned down. And I think any further incidents are going to be a little worse for Mick given that. But I think he is thinking towards the lasting consequences and more the lasting consequences than the immediate ones. Like I think he is more worried about the long term because he has been thinking about the long term for a very long time.
Well, yeah, because we haven't met like the rest of that little group yet. You know, we've met Flora May and Dahlia, but there are 4 other people in the continental U.S. alone that Mick feels 5, including Octavia, that Mick feels deeply personally responsible for. So
somebody in the chat said very British accent, still most entertaining switch ever.
Mick's not even British.
He's literally not. He does that for fun. He sounds like that for the bit. He's from Spain. He's a Spaniard. He sounds like that because he thinks it's funny.
He sounded like...
Did we say he was from Barcelona?
Barcelona? Yeah.
This is a Spaniard.
To be fair, given his 500-year lifespan, he probably spent longer in England than he did in Spain.
Yes, but also, he doesn't sound like that because he's British. He sounds like that because he thinks it's funny while he's living in the U.S. God.
Anyway, we love Michael Darcy.
He's much like fish and chips in that he is a transplant.
How did Lola just end up at Kay's doorstep? Did she drive across state lines just for the possibility of solving an old case? Well, it wasn't really her old case that she was there to solve.
Yeah. She showed up because because Kay helped her out last time, and she is thus attached. Because they had that talk, and she just wants to be Kay's friend really bad, and really wants to help her out with the disappearance of her brother. And like, there's a personal connection there, and that we'll get into Lola's family, but like, she has a younger brother that is a little older than Damien was when he disappeared. So like, she doesn't know that, but like, there is a little bit of a connection there, like personally for her. And we should establish they drove across state lines. This will sound like a long drive for our European followers, but it's a 4-hour drive without traffic from LA to Vegas.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. It's nothing. But yeah, she is very much a person that wants to repay kindness with kindness and repay favors with favors, and like,
well, yeah, and I feel like Lola's the kind of person that if that like quid pro quo gets dropped, like she feels bad about it, and it's like I owe you this. Like, not saying that she's helping Kay out of obligation purely, but
there is an emotional attachment there, and she feels that it is an emotional attachment that's Kay has been putting more into than she has because of the whole thing where Kay helped out with the sirens and didn't need to. Yeah, it's very much she is trying to forge a connection and make sure that relationship is reciprocal, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she hopped in her car for 4 hours.
Also, how was her time at home? Did her family's reaction affect her coming there at all?
We'll get into Lola's family. We will talk about them.
Her dads are good, though.
Yeah. Lola's family is, I think, very loving and supportive. Her dads don't one of her dads doesn't love the fact that they dislocated their goddamn elbow and like ended up in a bad situation, and like Camille was in the emergency room, and probably Cammie's mom was blowing up their phone, and like it's compounding issue. I was trying to put a little comedy in there, a little characterization of her dads. With that phone call of just, did you hear what your daughter did?
Why is she only my daughter when she's in trouble?
Yeah. Somebody in the chat about Mick said that is some next level commitment to the bit, and I forgot to read it. Sorry. And then somebody in the chat said, love her dads. Yeah. Lola's dads are good. We'll be getting into the whole dynamic with Lola's family, but like, Lola has 2 dads and a mom who are all varying levels of odd.
And all of that just distilled into Lola, like making an essential oil.
Into Lola's particular neurosis. My goal when we finally meet Lola's family in person is that it's going to be very obvious how each of these people raised Lola. You know what I mean? Goodness. But yeah, I don't think their reactions sent her back to Vegas so much as...
No, because like Lola's a grown-ass woman. Like, yeah, they still live at home.
Yeah, like, I don't think the reaction so much sent them back to Vegas as, like, these people raised her with a very firm sense of right and wrong and a firm sense of how you are supposed to look out for the people that you care about, and, like, reciprocity in relationships, and thus she felt like she had to go back to Vegas and help out. You know what I mean? Oh, goodness.
And Kay was not mad about it.
Lol.
something, twirling her hair, kicking her feet. Hey!
She literally was at the end of the fucking pose in the doorway, like, hey. Lesbionically. Hey.
So, ghost in the bathroom. Anything about her. Girl had some shit going on. Well, that's Kay and Damien's mom.
Yeah.
Ellie made it very clear that that was not her mom. She's mad, I think is...
Yeah. We're going to be talking about the ghosts a lot throughout this season. Like, that's a lot of Kay's overarching plot for the season is the ghosts. And, like, the ghosts in the house. And we're going to be getting a lot into. If you listen to our first campaign and watch the Q&As, you are aware that I tend to think ghosts are most interesting when they are
degraded and a little fucked up.
Yeah, not perfect reflections of the people that they were in life. Like, to me, fundamentally, a ghost is most interesting when it is the memory of a person. Like, it is a tangible reflection of the effect that a person left on the world and on the people close to them. It is a tangible representation of how a person has been remembered after their death. And that has some implications for Kendra O'Connell.
Well, especially because we learned in the talk with Dr. Akana this episode that like Kay has fundamentally blocked out a lot of shit concerning her mother.
Yeah, like,
so it's like we're just going into experiencing this ghost, and the person who basically is holding the memory of this ghost, like the last person that's left alive, really.
Well, Kay and Damien, I think, are the people that remember her the best.
Yeah.
But
they both have memory issues, and it's like, we're experiencing what memory has done to this ghost when neither of the people have super reliable memories, so we're just getting it full to the face.
And I was trying to lampshade that in the talk with Dr. Akana. Like, we've talked about repression a lot, especially in regards to your mother, is what she was saying to Kay. And, like, I'm trying to figure out how to talk about this without messing up, like, spoiling things for the rest of the season. Somebody in the chat said, y'all reminded me of the fact that my girlfriend will still look concerned anytime she hears the light shifts in kind of a weird way. I do love that as a narration bit. That is, I think, one of my hallmarks when I'm trying to make things weird. Because, we did, I did use that as a line
in Fever Dream in season 2.
Yeah. I just think I like to tell stories in a way that is very visual.
Yeah, Al does a lot of great, like, visual horror, which is like, we did the bathroom scene, not like twice fully.
Yeah.
But I did like stop it partway through recording and like kind of had like a moment, and I was like, go off. Like, be unhinged. Like bring the horror. Like, do it.
The first version of it, we got up to
Ellie being slumped over the tub, I think.
Well, we got up to the ghost, like, stepping away from the bathtub, I think, was where we got to. And Barry was like, he didn't say this to me, but he was like, you could do better. I was being very tame with the scene. I didn't want to, like, go too hard, but, like, it is a horror podcast. So I decided to be a little unhinged.
And I love the way that you do visual horror, because like the way you did that scene when you finally like took the Rock Lee weights off and like actually went in, it reminded me of The Grudge.
Yeah, I was like definitely thinking about The Grudge a little bit. I was
like the way that they did the cinematography in The Grudge with like the weird like skittering ghosts and the joints like all going the wrong way. Like it just it got me like in that exact same place that the movie did, and it scared me in the exact same way. And I was like, oh.
I was thinking about The Grudge. I was thinking about I think one of the other things I was pulling from visually was like one of the scenes in Doctor Who with the angels where like the light flickers off and they move and then
their faces change.
I was definitely thinking about that. Like that's kind of the vibe.
But
you
did the storytelling there so well in that way. Like I am so proud of that scene because of the narrative work you did. I thought it was fucking amazing. It was scary as shit, but it was amazing. There's a lot going on with Kendra O'Connell. We'll unpack it.
We're gonna unpack it for the rest of the season. Later. But like right now with the ghosts, I'm trying to lay the groundwork for how we can unpack them later in the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'm trying to lay the groundwork of how they are as ghosts right now. and then we will unpack
in
them as
opening
people
sequences
later.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to establish what is left of these people so that we can kind of unpack
what was actually there before.
How memory has distorted them later. It's about the healing from trauma. It's always about the trauma here.
Last question after this.
Two more.
Two more.
Two more.
Were the people being pulled out of cars by the Wild Hunt okay? Or is it oh no, they're putting them one by one on the block until they get to the Damien team? They're not okay. Sorry.
We were trying really hard not to be explicit about it in the episode. But I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, but Wild Hunt gonna Wild Hunt. Those people aren't
Those people are not okay. I think Luke saved the people that were being pulled out of their car by
way of vehicular manslaughter.
That he hit with the goddamn van. I think that particular lady is okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Luke.
The rest of them, however.
We're not gonna go into too much detail about it.
But
it's kind of fridge horror.
Yeah, they're not okay.
Yeah. Sorry, we let a couple questions get away from us, so we are running a tiny bit long. Our bad.
Would Damien the OG, I love the wording of this question, speaking about Uncle Damien, would Damien the OG, Damien 1.0, have minded his money and coke being tampered with? Or was he just oh yeah, this is just the course of her young adult life?
I think Damien O'Connell the first would have been very supportive of his niece trying to get her shit together. Goddamn. Somebody in the chat said rip 3 redheads and 6 people that looked like they were dying. Yikes.
I mean, the ghost, his ghost was in the house.
Yeah, talking about Damien the first. We've had so many times where we're trying really hard not to make it confusing that there are 2 people in this family both named Damien.
But they're Catholic, so
well, they're Catholic, and also Damien, the one that is alive during this campaign, picked his own name. He named himself after his cool queer uncle. Come on!
Yeah!
He was 11, and he was yeah. He probably did the thing where he was hey, Dad, what would you have named me if I was a boy? Haha, for no reason.
And then got the answer and was oh yeah, that dude fucking rocked.
That dude rocks. Cool. God. Somebody in the chat said, so you said fridge horror. I don't know what that is, but I'm just imagining a restaurant-sized fridge filled with frozen iced over bodies. Oh no.
That's not what that is.
Fridge horror is a term that I believe was popularized by Alfred Hitchcock, originally as icebox horror, which is anything being fridge X is you consume a piece of media and then you go home and you don't think about the deeper implications of something that you consumed until you are pulling something out of the fridge for dinner. And then you're hey, wait a second. Fridge horror is specifically the version of that feeling where you go, as Brian David Gilbert put it in the video once, it's specifically the version of that feeling where you go, hey, wait a second. I think
that was the last question, by the way. Open question time. We'll give it 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think Damien the First would have been absolutely supportive of his niece trying to get her goddamn shit together. She's doing her best.
What's he gonna do with that money? He's dead.
He's dead. God. Yeah, somebody in the chat said, oh yeah, so they got away because they ran over some Wild Hunt. Wait, what happened to the people who were pulled out?
Exactly. Yeah, that's fridge horror. Yeah,
exactly. That is exactly what I mean. Oh, goodness. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, I think Damien the First would have been fine, but he's not going to use that money. He's not going to use that money.
Yeah,
he has to pay bills. Kay's trying to keep the power on.
I mean, realistically, he probably would have been I'm not going to use that cocaine either.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of drugs that Kaylin O'Connell should be on.
Not one of them.
Cocaine is not one of them.
I just put that there because I thought it was funny. I'm trying to establish character in the little ways.
Environmental storytelling.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, teaser for our patrons, and then later for people that aren't subscribed to the Patreon. Al is a fucking amazing player of The Sims 4, and we have built the O'Connell house in The Sims 4 and like are in the process of decorating it and perfecting it. We are eventually going to release for the Patreon first, but after that to the public a house tour.
Yeah.
And it's gonna
fun.
It's gonna rule.
Yeah. I did the original model for it like a few years ago. I think I did the original model for it back in like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just have been doing edits to it throughout the years, and now we're going into it and we're like completely revamping it. So yeah, it's fun. Environmental storytelling is fun. I'm excited about it. I think it looks cute.
It looks incredible. We've polished the entire downstairs and Kay and Damien's room.
Yes.
So
the rooms.
Yeah.
We've done most of the polish on Ellie's room. The problem with it is that it
looks like a jail cell.
It's accurate to character, but it looks like a prison cell. That's her room in her house where she lives. It sure is. Somebody in the chat said, "How's Grandma doing? She was being so sweet at the backyard barbecue. How mad do you think she was when Kay's mom pulled that like minutes later?" Yeah. I think here's the thing. I think Bridget is in some control of the house. I don't think she is always in control of everything
and everyone operatively. Yeah.
I think she is focusing on a few things at any given time. And the reason we are not having constant ghost attacks is that it's Bridget's house, and she doesn't fuck with it. But yeah,
well, and I mean, an attack on Ellie and stopping that would make a lot of sense as far as like Bridget being able to stop it because Ellie's. Well, no.
I don't know what you were saying, but it's not correct. Disregard that. But yeah, I mean, an attack on Ellie by Kendra makes a lot of sense. I think is what you were getting at. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Bridget she has bigger fish to fry.
She's trying very hard.
Trying really hard.
And she has bigger fish to fry that we haven't really seen.
Although I was doing some. I'm trying to figure out if this is a spoiler or not. I was doing some running themes in the backyard barbecue scene specifically that will be important later. Mm-hmm. I was doing a narrative, little visual theme.
Bridget was busy. She couldn't deal with that for real.
Somebody else in the chat said they made their D&D party space of operations in No Man's Sky. That fucking rules. That rips. But yeah, Bridget was busy. She couldn't deal with that for real.
She was trying to make sure Kira didn't text her ex.
Yeah. It's, I think... Yeah, somebody in the chat said it's a fun narrative tool that will cause pain later. Mickey Mouse voice. Yeah, it...
Remember how I said I was going to do evil things with the Stick Season by Noah Khan?
We have some stuff planned. Barry knows exactly what I have cooking. Yeah, we will get into how much control Bridget has over the house and specifically how that shakes out in the following episodes.
All right. Last call. Any questions? And then we're going to do
like another minute. But yeah, that house tour will be coming out on the Patreon soon-ish. Probably.
I think we have like 2-3 more rooms to finish before we're ready to. Yeah.
It's not that big of a house. It's decent size. I modeled it originally off of a real townhouse that exists in the city of Las Vegas, like for real. So it's decent size. It's just not large. Yeah. Oh goodness. Okay. But yeah, next episode, it'll be out when it's out.
We're still in the planning process.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're trying a new thing where we're planning out
a whole arc,
the entire arc, like instead of just outlining, because we have vague plans for like the entire season, but like we're doing the outline for the entire next arc all at once to see if we can kind of snap through it, and breaking it or chunking it into episodes later. But we'll see what happens with that. It'll be out when it's out. I have a feeling that the next arc is going to be a real check the content warnings era. As we've said, our standard policy is you should check the content warnings. We put them out because we deal with some triggering stuff.
I'm glad that y'all aren't breaking yourself for a release schedule. We're breaking ourselves a little bit, but I feel like something that like needs to be addressed is like this show started during like lockdown, and I was like fully able to work from home for that, and we had a lot more time of like, oh, I have a spare half hour here, we can go record. Like that doesn't happen anymore.
So we're doing what we can. We are trying to keep our stress levels low, and we appreciate everybody's understanding as far as that goes. But
we're a 2-person team, like full recording, production, editing, all of it. It's hi. You're looking at the whole team. So,
but yeah, we appreciate everybody's understanding. It'll be out when it's out, and there's some themes in this one. There's some themes here.
Which is so funny because there's like some themes that are gonna make people like fully go like this, but also there are some parts of it that are so absurd.
I will say the monster of Kay's half of the next arc is just absurdist comedy to me. I came up with it and I was like, oh, that's very
hilarious,
something.
Actually.
That's hilarious. How do I make it scary? And I will. Anyway, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye. Bye.